Hi, I'm Chef Ted Smalley, and I'm here at the Rada Cutlery Kitchen, and I'm going to use some of the new Rada stuff, and we're going to make a few recipes today. First, we're going to start out with a crostini, which is a baked bread, and usually used for hors d'oeuvres, sometimes more like a crouton type thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Rada 10-inch bread slicer, and I've got a French baguette, and I'm going to cut it on a bias, which means at an angle, and it just kind of gives it a little more classy look to it. Now I'm going to place the crostini onto a stoneware cookie sheet, which is brand new from Rada. These are good for cookies, crostini. Of course, you could do tater tots, pizza, I mean, anything basically, frozen French fries, fish sticks, anything like that you want to run through the oven. And you do not have to grease them or anything. We're going to go over to the stove, and I'm going to melt down some butter, olive oil, a little bit of sugar, some Italian seasoning, and some seasoned salt. In the liquid that I'm going to be brushing over the top of the crostinis, I use 2 sticks of butter. I always use unsalted butter because then you can regulate how much butter goes in. Use between 2 and 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Pretty exact measurement there. In this pan has the corners in there like most pans do. With a standard whisk, you don't get clear down in the corner. It's really close even with a small whisk like that, but you still don't get into the corner, which is, always where it starts burning anyway. But if you're using a Rada handy stir, you can get clear down in the corner, and you don't have any problems with that at all. I mean, there's not going to be anything that's going to be able to burn. And now that we've got the butter and the olive oil melted down and heated up pretty good, we don't want it to boil or burn, so I'm going to back it down a little bit. I'm going to add a little seasoned salt. You can use whatever kind you like. I like mine the best for some reason. You need to add about 2 tablespoons or so, and then we'll go by taste later. And we're going to add about a tablespoon of sugar. And we're going to put in a little Italian seasoning, which is just a mix of oregano, basil, marjoram, a little thyme. And we'll stir that up. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of the mixture, and I'm using a brush to just brush it on, try to get total coverage over the top of it. And because there is some settling and separation just because you're using oil and butter and with the other seasonings, you want to keep stirring it with your handy stir as you're brushing. Just get really good coverage on them. Don't want too much. They will bake crisp, but you don't want them too soggy. But you definitely want them to have that flavor. All right, we got those done. Now we're going to head over to the oven with them. We'll keep an eye on them. I'm not sure how long it's going to have to be. Every oven's a little different, and if there's a little uneven heating and you have a hot spot or something, you might have to turn your pan so that they come out uniformly crisp. All right, those were in for about 20 minutes at 350 degrees. I rotated them once at about the 10-minute mark. Pretty much you can just check to make sure they're nice and kind of getting crusty and golden brown like that. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up a tomato. I'm going to use the peeling and paring knife to cut the stem out of it, get the center out as much as possible. Then I'm going to bring over the Rada tomato slicer and just kind of give that a cut. And I'm going to cut right through it. Yeah, removing as much of the liquid out of these and the seeds, because otherwise those crisp crostinis that you just made won't be crisp at all anymore. Now I'm going to take the cook's knife, and once again I'm going to cut them down a little thinner, and then just cut them at an angle. Now I'm going to use the large chef knife, and we are going to dice up this onion. I like cutting them in half and then cutting them in half rings. and then just flipping them, and kind of got to follow the curve around a little bit with the angle of the knife. Got a little of the red onion, so we're going to put about the same kind of size dice on that. And we're going to move on to the peppers. Once again, everybody has their way of doing peppers. The way I like doing it, cut the top, trim the bottom off. And then I cut around like this. I'm going to use the small peeling and paring knife and cut the white membrane out, because you know you want green pepper. If it's white like that, it's not green. All right, and that should do it for the peppers. Add in the red onions too. Next, with our bruschetta, I am going to be chopping up some fresh basil. And the cut I'm going to be doing on this is called a chiffonade, which basically means to cut it into thin ribbons and just chopping it into real thin slivers. I'll mix this in a little bit. Now I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, kind of connect everything through using extra virgin olive oil. Put a little bit of garlic powder in there. And then a little bit of cumin, which is the secret to it. A little of your favorite seasoned salt. A little bit of sugar. You might have to add more sugar depending on how sweet your tomatoes are. You might have to add less. Try to get it all blended in as much as you can. This is really, really, really nice and dry. There's not a lot of extra juice, which will help keep your crostini nice and crisp. And now you want to let it sit for half an hour to an hour, and the flavors will all meld together. And now what we're going to do is we're going to assemble the crostini and bruschetta, and I'm going to be using the Rada cheese slicer, and I've got some fresh mozzarella here. And look how easy that comes off of there. Fresh mozzarella is notorious for sticking to everything, but the way this knife is designed, that's just not the problem at all. And you can work them around a little bit. Try to stack a little higher if you want. And this is the crostini, fresh mozzarella, and an Italian bruschetta.